Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of MPP-TV. This week, I am very glad to be able to bring you Jamie Margolin, who is the lead organizer, the director, the founder of the Youth Climate March and Zero Hour, which is hosting it. And so we came across Jamie about a month ago, and as our members will know, we voted to endorse the Youth Climate March. It's happening in about 2 weeks. It's being organized entirely by young people and by high school students, which is really amazing. Jamie here is 16 years old, and they have a really incredible story. And so I wanted to start with that. Jamie, I mean, what you guys have done in putting together this march is just so amazing. What motivated you to do it? What gave you the fire for that? What made you think that it's necessary? And how did you guys all meet as a team?
Well, what motivated me to do this is I've been a climate activist for a while now, and um, I had been doing a lot of organizing in my hometown of Seattle, and I was just getting very discouraged because I didn't see the national sense of urgency around the climate crisis that I felt like there needed to be. So, I mean, literally, life as we know it and everything we hold dear is being threatened and destroyed by the climate crisis, and the media in the rest of the world is just continuing and going on like nothing's wrong. They're just like business as usual, just like normal, like whatever. And so there was like I wanted to do something to like wake people up and get them to take action and on the national level in a national sense of emergency. But I didn't quite know what. And so a little bit more about me and my organizing background. I'm on the Youth versus Government lawsuit in Washington State. So the firm Our Children's Trust, which is a pro bono law firm, is helping young people sue our government over climate change. Over the case is that we as youth have the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but you can't pursue happiness without clean air, clean water, a livable future. So we're suing and we're saying that our government is denying us that, and we're suing for a climate recovery plan that would be forced to be implemented in the state of Washington. And then there's another one mimicking that on the national level that is really amazing. However, lawsuits are very, very slow and they just kind of inch through the courts. And so I was thinking we need something that is going to raise that national sense of urgency around the climate crisis immediately. And so that was where the idea for the Youth Climate March came. And it was after the Women's March where I saw that the power of mass mobilization could have, that I really started thinking about it. But I pushed it down and continued to work on local organizing around my city, because organizing a mass mobilization is really, really hard and it takes over your life. And it's taken over my life for the past year. My voice sounds all weird because I've been jet lagged and I've been like yelling at people and like working and on the phone since 6 a.m. this morning. I got up jet lagged after 4 hours of sleep at 6 a.m. to take a call with like CNN. So it was like, that's the kind of commitment that it takes. And so I'd known that as an organizer and I was nervous. However, summer was the last straw for me because I was at the summer camp in Princeton University, and there were a lot of youth from the Pacific Islands there and youth from the Marshall Islands and all of these places that are frontline communities where young people, where people are feeling the effects of the climate crisis, literally being flooded. Their homes are literally being destroyed. And I met these youth and suddenly they were my friends. They weren't just some kids on the news. And then we went home around like late July, and then the hurricanes happened. And to this day, I still don't know if some of the kids I met are okay. So it was that that really spurred, it was the final straw. Plus, when I got back to Seattle, it was totally cloudy, not cloudy, smoggy, because of the unusually hot temperatures were causing wildfires in Canada. And that made the smog just totally cover Seattle. And it was awful, and people were getting sick, and there were air quality warnings, and I couldn't go outside because it literally hurt to breathe. And so that was the final straw, and that was what really pushed me to start Zero Hour. We're called Zero Hour because this is 0 hour to act on climate change. There really is no more time. And we're organizing the Youth Climate March because we as young people, I'm under voting age, so I'm 16. So not only am I going to be living through the worst effects of the climate crisis, but I'm going to be, I can't vote, so I can't decide the policy, and I can't decide what happens to my future, but I get to pay for what happens. So that's just very unfair. And so through this march, the Youth Climate March, young people are taking back our power. So that's kind of the main idea of that. Or I won't want to say taking back, because we never really did have it in our government. And there are several other young people on the team. Nadia Nazar was one of the very first young people who joined. I actually started the movement with a post on Instagram last summer. As most youth movements started, it started on social media, as the Generation Zer that we are. So I posted about it, and Nadia, a fellow 16-year-old, was like, let's do it. And so I messaged her, and we just started growing from there, and we brought in more youth, and we brought in mentors, and it's just been growing since then. And that was a year ago, and now we're 10 days away from the march. So that's kind of how we got our start.
And the march is going to take place in Washington, D.C., right? The main march. And it's actually 3 days that includes a lobbying day. I saw it includes direct action as well. And you have various sister marches across the country too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so we do have various sister marches. So on July 21st, young people are marching in Washington, D.C. And even though it is the Youth Climate March, everyone of all ages is welcome to come. But it's the rally is going to be all young people. So it's going to be only youth speaking, and it's going to be highlighting our voices. So the rally is all young people, but anyone of all ages who supports our cause is welcome to come. It's right on the I don't know if you can share more information on your Facebook page and post about it, or if you've been sending emails to your followers or posting about it, but it's right on the National Mall. It'll be very hard to miss. There'll be a giant stage on the National Mall on July 21st, and it starts at 10:30 in the morning. That's when the rally starts, so you might want to get there a little earlier to have a good spot and just be there and get to know some people. And there's also going to be sister marches around the country. So the way you can find a sister march near you is if you go to thisiszerohour.org, and then there'll be like a map, and you can find marches. There's going to be one in New York City. There's going to be one in Los Angeles, one in Seattle, where I'm from. So yeah, it is going to be an amazing day of action. And yes, they are actually 3 days of action. So, and there's a reason for this. There's a method to the madness. So on July 19th, young people are lobbying our elected officials, because we don't just want to march and go. Like, there have been so many marches, so many mobilizations that just happen with no like concrete outcomes or no concrete. Sometimes they're just feel good marches, or sometimes they don't really have clear asks. And so you have this great mobilization, but then it's like, what do we do with this momentum? So we have anticipated this since a year ago. So what we did is we have a platform of what we as young people need in order to have a livable future, and it's going to come out on Friday, so everyone should stay tuned on our social media at This Is 0 Hour for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for that release of our platform. And what our platform is pretty much, it's the core of the movement, and it's what we as young people need in order to have a livable future. And it's a very radical document because no mainstream climate organization has released something this strong in terms of demanding climate action, because a lot of times these things get watered down to what is politically feasible, what sponsors and things like that say are okay, and there's some corruption there. But we as young people see our job is to cut straight through the political BS. So art platform is just what we as youth need in order to have a livable future. And we've had that checked by like climate scientists and community leaders, youth at Standing Rock. So it's a very comprehensive, but also easy to read and pretty short and sweet platform. And that's what we're lobbying for. And the main demand is that our leaders stop taking money from fossil fuel industry so that they divest, because there's no way that people can have a livable future without, or even like try to combat the fossil fuel industry with the influence still in our government. Like, how are they going to pass laws? So that's what we're lobbying for. And then we're going to talk to our senators. And July 19th is the only youth-only event, so only 25 and under can come, though if you're a parent of a kid who wants to come, you can totally on July 19th to lobby on Capitol Hill. You can be there to support your kid, but you are not the one talking. Your kid is talking. You are not talking for your kid. Adults are not allowed to speak at the lobby day meetings because it's a youth lobby day where young people are expressing ourselves to our leaders and face to face and talking to them. Why are we marching? What are we doing? What do the youth need from you? This is how you failed us. This is how you make up for that. So then on July 20th is the Youth Climate Festival, and that's open to everyone. So the lobby day is the only kids only. As in kids, I mean 25 and under. But the art festival is going to be a day before.
Missed the cut.
What?
I just missed the cut. I'm
yeah.
20.
You're 20.
I'm 28.
28. Oh.
Oh, well, I'll have to watch and admire from the sidelines.
You can come and you can if you're a few years older and you have like a quick thing to say, I mean, it's not like someone's like, I turned 26 yesterday. Oh my God. But yeah, we're trying to center the younger voices, and the majority of our organization are high school. But yeah, definitely come, and we hope to see you there. You can help train people, etc. And then the Youth Climate Art Festival is open to everyone, and it's going to be on the National Mall as well. It's going to be a day of art builds, and not art builds, and art builds, art galleries around the movement. A day of there's going to be singers, performers, booths for different organizations, booths for different activities, booths for making signs and posters for the march. So it's a day of community building. It's a day of meeting people around the city. It's a day of engaging the local community, because a lot of mobilizations come in and out of DC, but they don't focus on the local issues here. So we're going to do that. We're going to respect the people here. We're going to be building signs, and it's going to be a great day of celebrating the movement, because a lot of times the climate movement is a downer, and it makes sense because it's literally life as we know it is ending. So there's not a way to say that without joking around with gallows humor, but we are celebrating.
Jamie, I wonder, what do you think is going to happen if this continues to go unaddressed? Why do you think this is an issue of life and death?
Well, it's an issue of life and death because the life systems that we as people need in order to survive are dismantling and are being destroyed. For example, there are certain temperatures that humans have evolved to survive in. 120 degrees is not one of them. And we've seen heat waves everywhere, and they're killing people. Another thing is the food chain is being totally all of these life systems, for example, the food chain, where the big fish eats the little fish, eats the little fish, where we eat the big fish. Those are all dying. Our oceans are dying. There's mass extinctions happening. By 2050, there may not be any more fish left in the sea, which means all the animals that eat those are dying, which means people lose their food source. A lot of people around the world will rely on the ocean, and then that messes up the oxygen levels, because then the ocean provides a huge amount of oxygen. So then we'll suffocate and die. And then there's all of the animals in the ocean are extinct. And when those are extinct, that messes with land. And then so suddenly we have mass extinctions. And this is not a 2100 problem. This is a 2050, 2060, 2070 and now problem. That's by 2040, actually, is when people say that all the fish could be gone if we keep going at this rate. And I'm going to be 30s. No, yeah, by 2040, I'll just be in like my mid 40s. Like I'll be, no, I'll be like in my late 30s. So even like in my early adulthood, everything could end, which is very terrifying. And I haven't even gotten to the iceberg about diseases and natural disasters and just all of the other horrible things that climate change is causing. Also, we will have no more chocolate because cacao plants are going down because climate change is changing the conditions. So, if you don't care about life on Earth, or your children, or animals, or breathing air, or frontline communities, but you do care about chocolate, then you should pay attention because the cacao bean is going to go extinct if it's already being harder and harder to grow. So
Has the
that
environmental movement ever considered that as an angle? I wonder.
we were joking. I was just like at dinner, like I was literally like eating quesadillas before I came. I was at dinner with the team, and there was like a chocolate bar on the table, and we were like, "What if we just tell everyone this and just like screw people's lives and stuff, and just say you're gonna lose chocolate?" And then everyone's like, "Okay." Yeah, I mean, it's a bit insulting to people who are literally to the thousands of people who are literally dying if you're like save the earth because chocolate.
Right.
But that's like a trivial thing, but it's just an example of even the small pleasures that we're going to be losing.
Yeah. And even the Pentagon has said that the climate change is a threat multiplier
Oh,
for conflict tied to the conflict in Syria, for example.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Climate change causes human conflict. Imagine when there's no resources, when when tyrants, you know how tyrants don't get into power, dictators don't come to power when everything's great and dandy and everyone's happy. Dictators come to power when there's fear and there's unhappiness and there's unrest and mass extinction and mass like death and mass like resource lacking, like people not having water, people not having food. That's going to cause a lot of unrest, and people will be hopeless and scared, and natural disasters are destroying everything, and people will turn to like a tyrant. And so then dictatorship is and tyranny is another effect of climate change. Another effect of climate change is conflict, because there's two countries, one suddenly you have a dwindling water source. Well, you're going to fight over that. So that causes violence and death and displacement, because suddenly you have refugees and the refugees go, and the cycle goes and goes. And like in Syria, like that has been worsened by the climate crisis. And like people are, I'm not, this sounds like a very apocalyptic, like sometime in the future. No, no, no. There are already millions of climate refugees, not millions, thousands of climate refugees, but they're expected to be millions eventually. There are thousands and thousands of refugees. Even we have a climate refugee working on the team. His name is Kibariti, and he had to flee the Congo because of extraction problems. Now he lives in Charlottesville, Virginia, and he's going to be at the march. But like it's here and it's now, and I'm working with youth who have experienced this. So anyone who's like, "Oh, that's not a problem, not yet," we'll tell that to the thousands and thousands of people who've already died and their families and the people who have fled these situations. So it really is a human issue. If you don't care about polar bears or like animals or wildlife, you should. But if you don't, and not just because you're a bad person, but you're like, okay, yeah, that sucks. The polar bears are dying. I wish they weren't. But I have like kids to feed, put through college, and I have like food to put on the table, and I have to get it. Like most people don't have apathy because they like hate the environment and they're deciding to like be the worst. Most people have apathy because they feel like I just have too much to do in my life right now and this doesn't affect me. And what I'm saying is, yes, it does. And this affects you personally. It affects your pocket, your wallet, your budget. It affects your health. Asthma and cancer rates are skyrocketing. Lyme disease skyrocketing. In Seattle, we don't have ticks. Now there's suddenly ticks there. And Lyme disease is going up. And I know someone who's been crippled by Lyme disease. And it's like, what the hell? They're not supposed to be here this high up north on the West Coast. So it really affects your health, the economy, everything. It's a human issue.
You mentioned that you have plans for after the march, because you don't want it to just be kind of a 1 or 3 day event. In fact, you plan on carrying it forward, and you planned that from the beginning. So can you tell us how you plan on taking it forward? And can you give us more of a preview of your demands for your platform?
For those of you who just showed up, Yeah, we from Zero Hour and we're planning the Youth Climate March on July 21st, and we have a whole weekend of action before then. So it's through the 18th through the 21st. It's actions around climate change that youth are leading. And in terms of the follow up of those, well, we have our platform that we're releasing on Friday, and that is going to be like the core of our follow-up because we have these demands, and after we march the demands aren't going to be made. Our leaders aren't going to be sure I'm going to divest from fossil fuels, I'm going to facilitate a just transition, I'm going to like, no, they're not. And so after the march is when the real work begins, because we've launched ourselves into the public eye, we've launched ourselves out there, and now it's time to lobby, to continue lobbying, to speak up at town halls, to send letters, to write to our politicians, to we also have part of the platform is the people's platform, which is what we and communities and businesses can do on the, because what we're going to see is that the politicians, change comes from the ground up. So nothing is going to happen on the federal level that spurs everything else to change. It's states, cities, businesses, communities, families, people making these changes that eventually trickle up. That's how it works. That's how all change has ever been made. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have like a whole town hall campaign of like youth and people speaking up about the climate crisis in their town halls, making our politicians know that like it's an issue for people and that people actually do care. We're going to be having like enforcing the people's platform and kind of talking about lifestyle changes that people can make and communities can make and what businesses can do. That's really when the work begins. And I'd say being a youth movement, most of the information that we release is on social media. So I would just follow us on social media at This Is Zero Hour, especially after the march, and just kind of for our next action items, we're going to be rapid fire, like releasing them and talking about all the information about the town halls and things like that. So stay tuned. But yeah, we are not done. This is only the very beginning. And we'll even do a few more actions as youth. Like, we're not going to do like another march because after the first time it kind of loses. This is not like supposed to be like an annual event. Like, oh, go into the youth climate march again. Like it's an emergency thing. But we're going to do different like actions. Young people I'm already working with some of the youth who had done some of the anti-gun violence actions to kind of cook something up. So we have a lot more up our sleeve. This is just the beginning, and we hope you'll join us.
I think that's something that a lot of people are really wondering is, people are looking at what you're doing and what your team is doing, Zero Hour, and they're looking at also the March for Our Lives. And they're thinking, how much is this like a trend among young people of your generation? Would you say that your generation is more activated kind of generally? What do you think?
Well, we aren't really following a trend. We've actually started organizing before the March for Our Lives, before the Parkland shooting even happened. So, and I don't say that in we were first wave, because I'm really glad about the success for the March for Our Lives. I'm just saying in the sense that like youth activism didn't start with the Parkland kids, and that's not where it ends. We have been doing this since last year, and kids have been activists since activism was a thing. So,
but I wonder, do you think that it's increasing?
I think it's increasing among my generation because we realize our parent and grandparent generation is literally leaving us with an unlivable apocalyptic planet to live in. So how can you not be mad?
Right.
How do you, like, it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures. So here I am, like, spending my summer on like 20,000 conference calls, doing a live stream instead of doing like a million other things. So, yeah,
we are still very much led by those really older generations. I mean, most of the people who are in the leadership in both parties in Washington, D.C. are people who were in power since the Cold War. So they're people who literally, I mean, they've been there for decades. So I couldn't agree with you more. I really think we need a changing of the guard. There's great potential in terms of solutions. I think one thing that the progressive movement in general has come to realize is that this is not a question of the absence of solutions. There are so many great solutions.
We have so many solutions. It's just about doing them. It's just really about doing them.
Exactly. So can you tell me about some of the best solutions that you've heard, Jamie, that you think that we should implement?
Well, some of the best solutions that I think to implement, one is, I know this sounds basic, but renewable energy is like, it's not this luxury. It's not this like new fancy technology. It is established. It has already been invented. It already has the capability to power everything much better than fossil fuels. Much more efficiently. You don't have to pay an electricity bill because you literally like, if you're in a place where you can have a solar energy or wind energy, and if it's literally like you generate your own energy with no effort and you don't have to like pay that bill. Plus, if you're not in an area, it can be stored in a generator and sent. I get very annoyed with people like, well, what if it's not sunny that day? We've invented batteries a long time ago. And really renewable energy has the power to like even just wind power alone. If you just like if geothermal and solar energy and none of this existed yet and it was just wind energy, that could power us like 3 times over. Like it's ridiculous and we don't have to pay for it. You don't have to mine for it. You have unlimited supply. So renewable energy, huge part of it is not even an option. It's just like if we want, I'm not like unless we want to go back to like the caveman days where we have no electricity, which we're not going to do because society's that's just not going to happen. That we need to find a different way to power our society. But that's really only the tip of the iceberg. Other solutions are actually we have to end animal agriculture and factory farming the way it is. And I know there are like
kudos for bringing that up.
Yeah, animal agriculture is like 50% of the problem. Like it's not just the fossil fuel industry. It's also, and for those of you who don't know what animal agriculture is, it's the amount of land and water and resources that we take to raise food, to feed the food, to then kill the food, to transport the food to ourselves. So we cut down 90% of I think it's actually over 90%. It's like 90 something, but I don't know which one. It's in the 90s percent of habitat destruction is caused by animal agriculture. So when you see that acres of the rainforest are being destroyed every minute, that's animal agriculture. That's because of the way we eat. And so the way that it works is you clear all of this habitat of wildlife and also of the local people. Like it's not just animals that are harmed, it's like people who rely on those habitats and like their homes. Like it's not just like jaguars, it's like people. This really is a human issue. They get destroyed to grow crops. And instead of all of those crops that they grow initially could end world hunger. Like we could end world hunger 3 times over. It's not a matter of not having enough food. We just take that food to feed the food. So we take the food that we grow to feed the cattle that take up huge amounts of land and grass. And you have to keep grazing them, giving them grass to feed cattle. And then cattle release methane. And people laugh because it's like methane, like, cow farts. Like, that couldn't do anything. Yeah, maybe 1 cow or 2 cows, but take billions of cows releasing methane on top of the insult already added to injury of like that. And then we slaughter those, transport them, and eat them. So what happens is we have all this food that we could be using to like feed everyone so no one goes hungry, but instead we're just taking it to feed the food that only goes to like the wealthy people. Like we as a species were not designed to eat this much meat. Like even back in like the hunter caveman days, meat was like only when you could catch it and you survived off of, it's a misconception that we just sat there like eating like legs of animals. I'm going on a tangent, but the point is, I'm not saying, so yes, one solution to this, a huge solution is vegetarianism and veganism. However, that only applies for, like, I'm not going to tell a tribe who, like, traditionally, like, eats food on their land. I'm not going to tell, like, the Inuit people, like, stop eating meat. Like, it's the people, it's not the act of farming itself or meat eating itself, because, yes, that is natural. We are omnivores. It's the factory farming. It's the industrialized, like, mass production. I hate it when, like, vegans are just, like, hating on, like, tribal people for, like, eating meat or, like, different, like, cultures. It's not just like the act of like eating meat. It's the act of industrializing it. Like it's been so industrialized. So the industrialization is really the problem here. So if by cutting back, like there's like a show of carbon footprints that like by cutting back on meat, your carbon footprint goes down by so much.
I think becoming a vegetarian or eating less meat is probably the second most environmentally friendly thing you can do personally.
One of the members brought me a popsicle. They're so nice. They're literally just feeding me.
That's a good team.
I was jet lagged and they forced me to take a nap.
Yeah, see, that's another good team. They tell you when you have to rest.
No, because I will just go on working until I die.
I know how that feels. So, like we talked about when we spoke the first time, I worked on Bernie's campaign in 2016. I was his national political outreach coordinator, and then I worked at Our Revolution. I helped found that. And in both capacities, I worked with the party establishment very closely. It was my job to lobby the superdelegates for him in 2016, my unfortunate job. And so in that experience, and in a decade of working with the Democratic Party before then, I discovered that the Democratic Party was just so thoroughly controlled by corporate money and by big money, by the same industries that are that are preventing it from taking action on climate change, or expanding healthcare, or so many of the other issues, that we care about. And so I wonder, what do you at what point do you think that we need to, push for independent alternatives? What role do you think that independent alternatives play in terms of independent parties?
0 Hour is a nonpartisan. So we have conservative youth working with us. We have hella liberal youth working with us. A huge percentage of youth working with us are centrist and like hardcore like Democrats. So for us, it's not about the parties. It's not about it's really about that money influence and like just the corruption of our political system. So for us, it's about removing that monetary influence of these industries. It's about removing like the gerrymandering and the redlining that prevents people of color and marginalized people from voting, and making our democracy more accessible to people. So I have personal opinions on this, but I'm representing 0 Hour. And yeah, we cannot, we don't endorse candidates. We don't endorse parties. We're totally nonpartisan, but we are about removing the corrupting influences of fossil fuel money, of corporation money, of gerrymandering, of preventing people from participating in our democracy. So you can like have all of the independent parties you want, but if gerrymandering but all you're going to do is you're just going to make the slightly better candidate lose more, right? Like if you just have all of these other, it doesn't matter like what the party is. It's about it's about the corrupting influence. So, and it's about the way that we're not allowing people of color and people, we're making it harder for people to vote. So we just need to make our democracy more accessible to people is really what it's all about. It's not about parties.
Yeah. The challenge is, of course, if the two parties refuse to relinquish that money or relinquish that influence, then at that point, the solution we certainly think is that you need to create something independent that voluntarily, says, I will not be under that influence.
I have personal opinions, but I can't speak on behalf of 0 Hour.
Of course. So I also saw earlier, and we talked about earlier, how Leonardo DiCaprio and a number of other celebrities and other climate leaders have come out in support. And I think that's really exciting that you're getting all of the recognition that you guys deserve. And so I wonder, can you tell me more about that? And can you tell me if some of them will be participating and kind of how the day of the march is going to go?
So I'll get to the day of the march. In terms of celebrities, it's cool and all, but those are not the voices we're centering. We're all about the frontline youth. So the celebrities of our rally are not going to be like the celebrities that people want to rush to take a selfie with. They're going to be youth from the front lines who deserve to be celebrities. They're going to be youth who have lost something to climate change. The Standing Rock youth, who, by the way, everyone should want to take a selfie with. The youth who started the No Dakota Access Pipeline movement are going to be here, and they're going to be talking about they're going to be performing, and it's going to be amazing and powerful. I'm going to be talking about my experiences and organizing and other youth organizers. So those are the real celebrities of the movement. But in terms of, and that's who we're centering. That's really what we're about. And yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, Al Gore, Chelsea, I forget her name, Chelsea, what's her name?
And
Handler, tweeted about us, and Van Jones tweeted about us, and like that's really helpful, and we appreciate them. But this isn't about them, and it's really about the youth, and so they're coming in a support role. And in this case, we have the power still. We're grateful to them for their support, but we still we are the celebrities of this movement, or the youth. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, you see Leonardo DiCaprio post about you and it's like, man, that's pretty cool, but then you just have to, that doesn't really change the work that you do, and then you just have to, maybe you screenshot the post and you're like, I'm gonna like brag about that to my friends, but you then continue working and you take your calls and you go out and you do the work. And that's no amount of celebrity endorsements changes the work that you have to do. You still have to make the calls. You still have to do the organizing, to talk to the youth face to face. So yeah, in terms of what the day is going to look like, one of our celebrity supporters is going to be at the march. Her name is Antonique Smith, and she is a Broadway star. She was played like the main character in Rent on like Broadway in New York, and I think they toured too. And she's a Grammy-nominated singer and actress. So she's going to be singing, and like as a celebrity singer, she's an amazing millennial Black woman. But and then you might in the crowd, I can't like. We've been messaging different like influencers or Twitter. Are you coming? So I don't know if you might spot a few celebrities from shows in the crowd, maybe. But in terms of the show itself, and they might. I know for a fact that a Disney actor is going to be speaking at the Los Angeles Sister March, but that's LA, so of course. But the stage, what the day is going to look like is 10:30 is the rally is going to start, so everyone needs to get there by 10:30. If you want to have a nice spot and actually like people to see most of the rally, you might want to get there a little earlier to be in front. And there's going to be some music to pump people up, and then there's going to be the space is going to be opened by the Piscataway tribe, who's the local people of DC, and youth from that tribe really opening the space because we are in their stolen land. And then all the youth speakers. I'm not going to tell you everything. You have to come and see it, or like watch the live stream, or like coverage and be there. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's going to be an amazing program. And I've been like central in organizing the program, and I'm going to speak, and I hope my voice is better by then. If not, I'm just going to like sound like Gollum, and it's going to be great. But it's going to be, yeah. And if you come, and you might see a few celebrities in the crowd that you're like, ooh, I know that person. But they're not going to be central to the rally.
Oh, I love your philosophy of making the celebrities, the true celebrities, are the frontline community people, just like you said, the people who are at Standing Rock, the people like your team member who have actually are already climate refugees. They don't have to wait until 2100.
Right.
And so I was wondering too, is there going to be a direct action component? Like, is there a sit-in or anything like that planned as well?
Well, if other people do sit-ins, that's out of our control. The idea of this action is it's actually going to be completely legal. So nothing that we are not planning any direct action, because we're starting out asking nicely. We're firmly asking nicely. We're very angrily asking nicely, like, we deserve a livable future, and like, this is it. Like, it's 0 hour. Like, we're not like, hey, can you please? No, you've had 40 years to fix this. You've had 60 years to fix this. So we're very firmly, angrily asking, but we're asking for it nicely. And then when, I like to say if, but I know probably when they don't take action, we escalate. So later in the calendar, you can expect direct actions. You can expect more extreme actions from the youth. You can expect us, and we want to start off on a reasonable tone. And like, we're meeting with the people, our senators face to face. We're trying, like, we're to do this the civil way. But if they don't, then maybe down the road, wink, wink, you can expect some stuff from us. If people do sit-ins or something, it wasn't organized by us. It's not 0 hour sanctioned. Like, we can't stop anyone from doing something, and by all means express yourself. But if someone does like some sort of direct action or gets arrested, it's not movement endorsed. Like, do your thing, but like it's not what we endorsed.
Well, we just a couple of weeks ago, we organized closely with the Poor People's Campaign through their 40 days of action, and of course environmental justice and opposition to climate change, and a full switch to renewable energy was all on their platform as well. And we saw them use direct action very effectively. And so, you know, we'll be with you every step of the way, Jamie, and 0 Hour in the Youth Climate March. And so it's an honor to participate in a movement that is truly led by young people. So Jamie, I want to let you tell people anything else you'd like to leave them with.
Yeah, I'd like to leave you with like how you can help out. So not only attending the actions, but also there are different ways. One is that there is no like overall, like even the March for Our Lives had like an overall bigger nonprofit, like steady flow of cash coming in. We don't have that. When people ask, okay, who's really in charge? I'm just like, me. Like, I'm the executive director. I call the shots. Obviously, like, it's a democracy here, so I'm not just bossing people around. Like, there's no way I could do this alone. I have a big team. But we really need monetary support. And I don't know here if I can, like, comment. Oh, here it says chat with your guests. Cool. So I can, like, put in the link to donate because we really do need all the help we can get in terms of donations. And then so that's a big thing. And if you're wondering where that goes, it goes to like the paying for the actual stage and logistics and keeping everyone safe at the march. And it's going to be really hot. So we're going to provide water and shading and like making sure nurses and like just making sure that everyone is safe. That costs a lot of money. So does like bringing the youth from Standing Rock. Like that's not exactly a wealthy place, like reservations. And so they're like out of pocket, like road tripping it to DC from like Standing Rock. So we need to be able to support those youth. And so you can be confident in all your money is going to the organizers of this. And that's really, and yeah, oh, you put it up on the live stream. Perfect. 0hour.org. It has all the information. Another way you can help is through spreading the word. We want as many people to come as possible to the art festival and the march and the lobby day if you know any youth who want to come. And that's all on thisis0hour.org. I'll put it here. I'm writing in chat. It's hard to talk and type, but learn more at, you know what? No, it's on the screen. You guys can type it in there. Sorry, my computer is.
And we'll be sharing it too.
That I just nah. But this is 0hour.org. You go there, you can donate, you can volunteer, you can help us out. You can spread the word. You can follow us on social media. It's at This Is 0 Hour. So let me put that in the chat. It's at This Is. Oh, come here, Nadia. Oh, it's a live stream. This is one of my teammates, Nadia. Nadia Nazar.
Yeah. Say hi to everyone.
It's the one who brought me a popsicle.
Yes.
But
you guys are the ones who just met, right?
Yeah, we just met, and we were the ones, if you saw that video online, at This Is 0 Hour, like screaming at the airport, because she actually started this with me.
Yeah.
Nadia actually like started the movement with me, and we still hadn't met in person until yesterday. So I still can't believe she's like a real human and not someone I'm like panicking over the phone with.
Yeah.
So yeah, social media support, spread the word, donate, attend a march, talk to you, like write an op-ed about why you're coming. So yeah, those are the main things that you can do to help, and you can go to thisis0hour.org for more ideas. And also follow us on social media at This Is 0 Hour. That's for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, retweet us. Definitely spread the word. And in your local community, if you want to bring your friends down to the march if you're close by and just have like a fun ride and powerful trip. Yeah. We also have an art festival, did you?
Yeah, I told them all about the art festival.
Cool.
You should totally come to that. Make signs.
We also surpassed 100 people signed up for the lobby day, which is great.
All right.
Yeah, we have over 100 people coming, lobbying to the senators. Yeah.
I'll be there in support.
It's going to be a really powerful action. Yeah, adults, you can come as long as you check yourselves. One last thing I'd like to add is how to be a good adult ally. So kids like Nadia and I are the center of the movement, and the organizers and our voices, and even more than our voices, but the voices of people who have already felt the worst impacts of the climate crisis are the people who are centering. So, for example, if you're an adult going to the lobby day, learn to, like, especially if you're like bringing your kid there, because I know a lot of parents are like, I'm bringing my kid. I know it can be tempting to like jump in and try to say something for them or put words in their mouth. Just really like check yourself, check your privilege, just like step back and let them talk. And just, I know it's tempting because I've had this like, even like Nadia and I were doing a media training, and I kept trying to like cut in and be like, I'm going to say this. So I even have that problem. So I can't imagine how difficult it must be, especially if you're an adult in your whole life, especially if you're an adult male, or life you've been told that, like, you know, go ahead, speak, and you speak over the kids. But really just, you're in a supporting role. You're there in solidarity. Yeah. So that's just something to keep in mind. Anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
Well, we're here in support of you. So thank you guys for doing this. And we'll be sharing a lot. I'll be there, and we'll bring as many of our folks as we can. So
we're so excited. It's going to be awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Inspiration. Way to go. Bye-bye. This has been our episode of MPP-TV with Jamie Margolin and Nadia, our great guests here from 0 Hour and Climate March, which is coming up just in, not this weekend, but the next. So check out the website. We put it on the screen, and it's in the description. See you guys later.
Bye.